Hello, my peoples. Welcome to another installment with Glenn Henderson, Winning 10 with Glenn, Rock Solid Principles. In today's installment, we're going to take a look at rock solid principles, where they come from, why they're important. And this is where, in the time that we spend, just 10 minutes is all you need, to where we're going to examine principles that promote prosperity, that regardless of what may be going on, where you are in life, this is your moment. This is your 10 minutes where you can discover principles, lessons, tips that examine and will help propel you to win and to succeed in life, even when things may not necessarily be enjoyable. Winning 10 is for everyone and anyone, regardless of where you are socially, economically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. It's inclusive, regardless of where you are positionally, single, married, no matter what status you're in. Winning 10 with Glenn is for you. It's intended for you, to help you and help promote prosperity, so that you can the rock solid principles really is founded in not having to learn lessons, so that you can, as you may go through life and you're doing life, and I know we hear I'm living my best life oftentimes, but then life happens too. So there's another term. And so rock solid principles are intended to help you navigate, and even when you hit and go through the difficult, inevitable hard times, or when life happens, that you can still prosper. And so we're going to examine principles. And sometimes I'm going to take, in some of these installments, where we're going to actually take a look at others, because you can learn from others. I always oftentimes talk about, I took one for the team. I went ahead of you. I went through things, because some of you who have read my book know that I've been bankrupt twice. I lost everything. And so I took one for the team, meaning that, I went ahead, I made the mistakes, and now you can learn from my mistakes. I oftentimes also, as a principle, talk about avoidance. And some of these, I fly quite a bit, and many of you fly, and it's a wonderful thing. People say, well, how was your landing? Here's a principle. How was your landing? And I say, well, any flight that you walk away from is a good flight. And so, yeah, it was a great flight. It may have been rocky, it may have been bumpy, it may have been very hard, but when you are able to walk away from it, is good. But how is it that these aircraft are able to take off and land? So there's thousands and thousands of flights and times a day around the world, and it's because they simulate. And then they have these things called avoidance systems, and that's what rock solid principles are intended to help you do. That is, avoid some of the pitfalls that will come when there's turbulence, and when there's hardship, and when things don't work out the way that you expect them to do. Then there is principles that you can put into practice. And there's a whole bunch of P's, but principles that you can put into practice that will help you avoid pain. And when and it may be painful, but it will help you avoid some of the pain. And going through those things, you can prosper. And so one of the first things that you really need to understand and learn, though, which I want to just camp on just a minute or two, just first 10 minutes today in this installment, is principles. Or what is a principle? Well, a principle is that which you should put into practice. It says that it's almost like an algorithm, that if you do this, then that, and it's typically something that has been studied and also proven. And so you have principles that in gravity, science, and other things that says if you do this, then you will get that outcome. And the most important thing about a principle is that you have to put them into practice. And the most important thing about practice is the very innate thing that practice says, and that is practice. That's where we get best practices from. Athletes practice and all of us practice something. And we later on we'll talk about the rule of 10,000. That's a principle, but the practice simply means it. Don't focus on the outcome, but if you practice a principle, or if you practice something, eventually over time there will be a certain outcome. And if it's a best practice, then typically, usually, when you put that principle to practice, the outcome that you're looking for will come to pass. So I want to share with you, and we want to look together and examine principles each 10 minutes that you spend in installments, that we can take a look at rock solid principles, so that then you can put those things to practice in your business, in your life, and no matter what it is and where you are, that you put those principles to practice, and then you won't have to, as I told my kids, and I just stumbled upon this when I was all ruffled up, and I was talking, and I said, if you just put principles to practice, then you wouldn't have to learn the lesson. And I said, wow. And then I had to go look in the mirror, and I said, well, Glenn, that also pertains to you. And then rock solid, RSP, which is what my whole curriculum and business has been about over the years, has been rock solid. That is something that you can absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, trust in. That has been proven. It stood the test of time. And rock solid, wouldn't it be great if you knew that this principle, or whatever it is, that when I do this, I'm absolutely sure that will occur. That's what rock solid means. So these are principles that when we look at them and then we examine them, when we discover them, they've already been tested, they've already been kicked around, they've already been tried. And so you can trust in it. And then the one thing that most people fail to do, and that is the practice piece. And that is, and people fail to put principles, and here's a principle, so I'm gonna give this to you right now. People fail to see the outcome because they fail to practice it. So let me say that again. People fail to see the outcome because they fail to practice the principle. That is, we quit, we don't see the result, or the result doesn't come fast enough, or we don't like. Now, get this, folks, some of the principles are painful to us because we have to change or shift, or it makes us uncomfortable. And so just take something physical. You may have to do something physical, and your body has to warm up to it. You got to stretch. You have to do certain things to get ready to do that body movement. You don't want to do it, or your body or your muscles may not want to do it, or it takes time. Notice all these principles. It takes time. And so because it takes time, or it doesn't feel good, or you have to stretch, or maybe something hurts, you got a little pain there, then you quit. And then the principle never has an opportunity to manifest. And so the practice piece of all these P's for prosperity of the principles is very, very critical, that you must be focused and committed to the practice. So I'm going to leave us there for your first 10 minutes in this installment of being committed to putting principles to practice. When we share them, when I share them, when you discover them, that you are going to say, no matter what, I'm going to put that principle to practice, and I'm not going to quit. So that's it for today's installment, Win with 10 with Glenn. And remember, it's always more blessed to give than it is to receive. So today, you go out and bless someone, and you will be a blessed. And bless someone because you are blessed. It is more blessed to give than to receive. That's a principle that you'll hear each and every time on Win with 10 with Glenn. Make it a great day.